All right, so our lesson for this evening, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through the Money Max account program, and I'm going to go through it slide by slide and take it a little bit slow. We may not make it through all of it this evening. If not, we'll do a second part next Tuesday. But I really wanted, with brand new people coming in, and I've had a lot of questions coming to me from people in the field asking kind of what is the talk track for this slide, what is the talk track for this slide. So let's just go in. And the way I open this up is welcome to the Money Max account presentation presented by United Financial Freedom, where we are buying America back one family at a time. I really don't think that slide needs much explanation. It's just our welcome to it. Now, the next thing we go into is our history. Now, I've seen a lot of different versions of this history out there, and the one thing that you don't want to do is confuse clients with the company, product, numbers, things of that nature. They're going to be going through enough numbers as it is when we get deep into the presentation. So the history that has been approved that we would prefer that everyone utilize is started in the mortgage industry. I always say the owners, John and Skylar, started in the mortgage industry in 1997, and they were listed as one of Utah's fastest growing companies for a 3-year period. Around 2004, they realized the significance of America's debt problem. 2004, some of the indicators started moving towards what actually happened in 2008. 2004, there was a lot of subprime loans. There was a lot of HELOCs out there. There was a lot of interest-only type of products, option arms, all types of products were out there. And the owners of the company, what they started noticing, because of the simple fact that they ran a mortgage brokerage, was clients returning for a second and third refinance. And that's what really kind of heightened them, that, you know, there's a problem and this is coming and it's going to be a big deal and we need to find a solution for this. They ran across some concepts that were being utilized in Australia and being utilized in the UK. They took that basic concept and modified that and worked with that basic concept and produced the first iteration of the Money Max account program, which at that time would have been called the Principal First account. And that was under accelerated equity and development. That's not really important that you need to tell clients. I'm just giving you some history as well. And so when they developed that first iteration, you had to have a home equity line of credit. And it was cash only. You had to pay by check or cash. There was no credit card payment. There was you had to have a mortgage. That's what it operated off of. So you didn't have a lot of flexibility with that first program. But from 2005 to 2006, we ran a beta test to 400 homeowners in the Colorado area. And what we found out was a year after they had been on the product, our average client was about 20% ahead of the analysis that we had given them for payoff and savings. That was quite astronomical. And with that, obviously, the owner said, you know, maybe we have something here that we can work with. To date, we've had over 70,000 clients nationwide. To date, we have had over 70,000 clients nationwide. Recognition, this Entrepreneur of the Year award really gives us some solidity to the professionalism of our business and who we are. Ernst & Young, if you don't know who Ernst & Young is, please go online and research Ernst & Young, and you'll find out that they're one of the largest actuary and accounting firms in the United States. And we were awarded Entrepreneur of the Year in 2008 for financial services in the Utah region. Now, I want you to understand something. The company received Entrepreneur of the Year, not the Principal First account. They went through the account. They verified everything that we see here, from financials, longevity, retention, product viability, impact on customers. We were featured in magazines back during this time before the global meltdown. Can you all just imagine where we would be had we never had a global financial meltdown? we would already be a multi-billion-dollar corporation. But things are what they are. So with this Ernst & Young, I want you to be very careful. You have to, if you're displaying this anywhere, you have to display it with 2008 award recipient, Utah Region Financial Services Division. The way you see it on the screen is the way that it must be presented. And then again, a reminder that anyone that is producing their own materials, they need to come through compliance to be approved prior to going live with any of these materials. Again, lending credibility. The same award was given to Apple, Starbucks, eBay, and Microsoft. We're standing in good company. All right. So we move on to this idea, or this concept of disruptive technology. So what exactly is disruptive technology? Well, the definition is any technology that steps to the forefront and replaces old technology because it has obviously better attributes and functions is considered disruptive technology. So what's an easy way of saying that? It's technology that's changing the face of the way we do business. It's technology that is allowing people to operate from home businesses. It's technology that people can order online. We don't need a landline telephone anymore. We don't need cable in our TV anymore, actually. We can operate off of things like Roku and Venmo videos and all of these different businesses that you see listed here on the disruptive technology slide are all businesses that have thrown themselves in the arena. My talk track here is that the Money Max account and United Financial Freedom are disruptive technology for 2020. I want you all to understand something. There's a lot of programs out there that people profess do what our program does, and I am here to assure you that there is no other program on the market that does what our program does, and that is the ability to lead you like a financial GPS as well as follow you. You don't have to come up with the calculations. You don't have to come up with the stipulations. You just tell the program the reality of your expenses, your accounts, and your income. Set that up, maintain the program, update the program, and what you will receive is at least the minimum results that came off of your financial analysis. So in these first three slides, what are we really talking about? We're talking about the reputation of the company. You're giving the people that are in the audience something they can hold on to say, okay, well, that makes sense. Okay, that was their history, where they came from. They won a great award. They've been in magazines. They're disruptive technology. All right, you said enough about the company. How does this thing come together, and how does this thing work? So then we move them in and we say, now listen, we're going to look at 8 banking principles: closed-end loans, interest accumulation, mortgage amortization, interest cancellation, open-end credit lines, float and leverage, offset accounts, and strategic debt payoff are all going to be items that we're going to review over the next few slides, okay? So we go into slide 1. Now, slide 1, when we did this back in the day of United First Financial, I remember after 1 year, we had a convention, and we had it down here in Salt Lake City. And I can remember walking out on stage and opening up the convention and saying, who is our client? And we had about, I would say it was close to 3,000 people, and everyone in unison said John and Rebecca Jones. And I said, and how much is their mortgage? And they said $200,000. And I said, and what is their payment? And they said $1,199.10. Then I said, if you apply $5,000 to that loan, you save. And the audience said 23,304 days and $23,304 and 23 mortgage payments. That is how steeped, and the first time we launched that, the agent base was in understanding this presentation. There's a lot of little napkin closes you can do with clients if you truly understand this presentation. Now, a closed-end loan Many people call that a compound interest loan, but it does not apply. That is not the banking terminology. So if you hear anyone referring to their mortgage as a compound interest loan, that is incorrect. It is a closed-end loan, and the requirements of that is requires a full scheduled payment at the minimum. You have to put in a full scheduled payment. You can't pay partials. It allows payment in, but you can't take money back out, so you can only make payments. It's driven by an amortization schedule, which basically means your monthly payment never changes. The amount that goes to principal and interest changes, but the monthly payment itself does not change. Any money applied does not affect interest charges until the following month. So when you make your payment for, let's say, May, it's going to affect the interest charges and the amortization for what is coming out in June. Principal and interest are linked together in an amortization schedule. It calculates interest charges from the month-end principal balance. So whatever the balance is on your loan at the end of a month, which if you've ever bought a home, the mortgage is the most common closed-end loan. They hand you a book that has 360 payments outlined, how much will go to principal, how much will go to interest if you have escrows, whatever that looks like. But what that means is that the bank already knows how much you're going to pay in interest and how much you're going to pay in principal in each payment. So what do we really want to understand from a closed-end loan? Well, the main thing is that it's very restrictive. We don't have a lot of flexibility with a closed-end loan. Really, all you can do is power principal to it to reduce the balance, to reduce the amount of interest that you pay over time. This closed-end loan has many different restrictions, like not being able to make partial payments. What we find is this is very constrictive, has almost no flexibility, and we pay way too much interest following this program. So what we're doing is setting up that this is a closed-end loan for the client. We want the client to understand enough for the sequence of slides to make sense as they move through the sequence of slides. So when we talk about that closed-end loan, we go to number 2, which is interest accumulation. And I start off by saying, now we're going to look at interest accumulation. And we're going to use a closed-end loan with a principal loan amount. We'll say this is your mortgage of $200,000, 6% over 360 months. That would be a payment of $1,199.10. I always make a little joke here and say I left the 10 cents off to keep the numbers round, but I'm bringing up the 10 cents because I'm sure I've got an accountant or a mathematician that's going to say, well, he left 10 cents off the monthly payment. What else did he leave out of the presentation? We can see on this loan, if we make every payment on time, no additional money applied to principal, we pay back $431,677 in total. If you do the math on that, we borrowed $200,000. We're going to pay back $231,677 in interest alone. That is 115% interest if you make every payment on time. I want to bring to your attention also that if you've ever done mortgages, in the mortgage disclosure documents, they now have something called TIP, total interest paid, or total interest percentage. That's what it is, total interest percentage. And that is on your TIP of your closing documents. And so your home actually is going to cost you $431,677. So the TIP on this total interest paid would be 115% interest. So if we have that mortgage, we're looking at mortgage amortization now. This is item number 3. And you can see how we've gone from a closed-end loan, that is a mortgage, and how interest accumulation operates over the course of 30 years. You're going to pay back more in interest than what you borrowed in principal. When we get to this slide, the point that you want to make to the client is that in an amortization schedule, principal and interest are connected. If we look at month 1, $199.10 goes to principal and $1,000 goes to interest. And by TIP, for that month, that would be 83% interest that you're actually paying. Now, if you notice, when we move into month 2, the principal contribution, I'll bring that backwards, when we go to month 2, the principal contribution only increases by $1. Did you all see that? It only increases by $1. That's a $1 difference from month 1 to month 2. So that would mean $200.10 are going to principal and $999 are going to interest. And this will follow out. Month 3 will be $201.10. Month 4 will be $202, and then it'll start adding some pennies like 15 cents, $203.21. But it's basically for the first, half of this entire loan, you're getting about $1 to a $2 increase in principal contribution. The reason that you state this and you show them that there is an increase of only $1, when we apply money to principal, I want you to make a note of this. When we apply money to principal on our mortgage, the effect to the amortization schedule, in other words, the additional money that will now be applied to principal with the next payment, happens automatically as soon as you apply that additional money to principal. When you apply that additional money to principal, however, the interest savings, when we talk about saving $23,000 of interest or $18,000 of interest with a one-time injection of paying down the principal, that interest savings is seen on the back end of the loan. If you were to sell that house today, let's say you just paid additional money in principal, and you were to sell that house today, you would get the benefit of the additional money that you paid in principal. You would also get the benefit of the increase in the amortization schedule, but the total interest savings are on the back end of the loan. So it's looking at it this way. If you're contracted for 30 years and you pay it off in 20 years, obviously you saved 10 years of mortgage payments and 10 years of interest off the back end of the loan. If we move into year 1, we can see now I start drawing the client's attention to equity and paid. And I say you paid in $14,389, but your equity position is only $2,456. In year 5, we can see that we've paid in $71,946. That leaves us with an equity position of only $13,891. That means by year 5, we've already paid $58,055 worth of interest. That seems like an awful lot of interest to have already paid up into year 5. If we move into year 21, what we can see is now we finally hit the halfway point with a balance of $99,877. We just went a little bit over the halfway mark. We have paid in $302,173 to get an equity position of $100,122. Now, I don't know about you, and I love saying this, but this is nothing more to me than legalized extortion. This is not the way loans should be repaid. I think in any other situation, you would never pay 115% interest to buy anything, but yet we do it day in and day out here in America with mortgages. All right, so then I move to this amortization screen, and the reason I have this screen in here is so many people nowadays are saying, well, you can get an interest rate of 3%, you can get 3.5% on a 30-year loan, you can get, your homes don't even go for $200,000 anymore. Well, if you look up online, just Google average home cost in America, and you'll hit 225 to 250. It's right in that range. And average interest rate on open loans in America is still 6%. But in an effort to make this compatible for as many people as possible, after going through that amortization schedule on the loan that we're going to be talking about, I say, okay, look, I know you probably can't buy a shed in your area for $200,000. So I want to give you an example with a $300,000 mortgage at 4% interest. In year 1, you would be paying 69.26% interest. In year 5, you're paying 63.94% interest. Year 10, you're paying 55.97% interest. In year 15, you're still paying 46.24% interest. So this kind of sets up the client that, it doesn't matter whether it's a $200,000 mortgage at 6% or a $500,000 mortgage at 5% or 4%. It's relative that this type of loan accumulates way too much money in interest, and you pay way too much interest, and there has to be a better way, and we have a better way, and we have created a better way. And then now is when we go into interest cancellation, and we start talking about how people can cancel interest and what that looks like. Remember, we made the correlation on the amortization schedule that principal and interest are always connected, that if interest goes down, principal goes up with that payment because it's set on that amortization schedule. So we're going to say in this slide that we made the first payment of $1,199.10, leaving us a balance of $199,800.90. Now, we all know that we can apply additional money to principal as long as we are up to date with our current mortgage. Well, we made our payment, and now what we're going to do is total October, November, December, January, and February's principal, and that is $1,010.54. And what we're going to do is make that first payment of $1,199.10, and then we're going to click the box on our online payment, or we're going to write another check applying $1,010.54 to principal, which is the total of October, November, December, January, and February's principal. Remember, we said principal and interest are always connected. Well, if I prepay October through February principal, and principal and interest are connected, that means I have eliminated October's interest, November's interest, December's interest, January's interest, and February's interest. In fact, for applying $1,010.54 to principal, I save $4,984 off the back end of the loan. But now what I want you to be aware is if you look at the screen here for October through February's principal, when I make my payment in October, okay, because I just made my first payment in September, when I make my payment in October, I will actually be making March's payment by the amortization schedule. So remember I said when you apply money to principal, it advances the amount applied to principal immediately. So since we applied $1,010, we canceled October through February's principal. We cancel October through February's interest. That means our second payment would actually be March's payment, which would have a principal contribution of $205 and change. So you can see that when you apply money to principal, it does give an immediate effect of advancing the amortization schedule, but the interest that is canceled off of the back end of the loan. You save $4,984 for $1,010.54, and I think if we broke that down, then most people would do that all day long. All right, interest cancellation. So let's say in the first month I was to apply $5,000 to principal along with my regular payment, making my first payment in the amount of $6,199.10. The interest cancellation is the original balance was $200,000. By applying that money to principal, moving into month 2, my balance is $194,800. That's my new principal loan amount. I'm still contracted at 6%. I still have a payment of $1,199.10. But by doing this, I take away $337 is the payment that I'm starting off on. So if I made my first payment, that would be payment number 360, my first payment. 359 would be my second payment. So if we follow that increased principal contribution that we see in the amortization schedule, we actually, this time, instead of advancing it 5 months like we did on the last screen, we advanced it 23 months, which means our principal contribution increased by over $23 moving into our second payment. We know that in this exact same scenario, we were supposed to pay back $231,677 by making this one-time application to principal of $5,000. We now will pay back $208,373 in interest, and that gives us a net savings of $23,304 in interest savings. So the question becomes, would you invest $5,000 in yourself to get back $23,304? Now, I have a lot of people say, well, Mac, that's really not accurate. No, it is accurate because of this. You signed a contract for 360 months. If you don't make a payment, they will tack on fees. If you go into default, they will attach the house. So the reality is that saving money on your mortgage up front, advancing the amortization schedule, and canceling interest is a really good methodology for moving forward. And so at this point, what I say to people is, so now we've looked at this closed-end loan. We see how it accumulates interest. We see that it's too restricted, that we have no flexibility with it. We pay way too much interest. And really the only way to defeat it is by powering additional money over to principal. I make a shift here and say, now I want to talk to you about another banking product. And I want you to use that terminology, banking product, because we're using the products that are offered by the lender, okay? So we talked about the closed-end loan. You just kind of recap real quick, too restricted. We have no flexibility. We pay way too much in money and interest. And the only way to really defeat it is apply additional money to principal. Well, I want to talk to you about another banking product called an open-end credit line. It has the ability to make multiple payments and withdrawals. That means that you can put money in and money out, and you can do that multiple times through the course of the month. It uses an interest factor to calculate interest. It has no amortization schedule. Money applied today affects the balance today and calculates interest based on the daily balance. So what do we know about this type of loan? Well, we can put money in and money out, so it has a lot more flexibility than the other closed-end loan. We also know the closed-end loan, regardless if the balance goes down, the monthly payment of the closed-end loan never changes. On a credit line, as the balance goes down, the monthly payment goes down, the interest charges goes down, and that's because money applied today affects the balance today. It's viewing an average daily balance for the calculation of interest charges. So instead of looking at the end of the month, here's your balance, here's your new interest for the next month, it's looking at a daily interest charge of how much balance is in there each day, how much interest can be assessed, but we have a lot more flexibility with this type of loan. We have a lot more availability to funds, and we can actually use an open-end credit line to defeat a closed-end mortgage. So using one bank product against another bank product. And the way that I kind of bring people into this is I ask people with this slide, how many people out there have a major credit card? And I always get hands, and then I say to them, when we go out with our major credit card and we do a shopping spree for $500, let's say, and we get the bill in the mail, what do all of us try to do? And invariably the audience will say, pay the balance in full. And I go, pay the balance in full, why? And they say, because if you pay the balance in full before the end of the month, you don't pay any interest charges. And so they are correct in that if you pay your Visa bill in full at the end of the month, you float the interest and you leverage your lender's money interest-free for up to 25 to 30 days, depending on the credit card provider. So the reason I do this is most people are fully aware that if you pay your balance off at the end of the month on your credit card, that you won't pay any interest. But what they're not aware of is what they are actually saying, and make a note of this. If people respond to you, yeah, I pay the balance off, what they're saying is they know a way to borrow the lender's money interest-free. Let's say that again. They know a way to borrow the lender's money interest-free. Is it possible that they're just thinking too small? They're just thinking about their little credit card balance and how is that credit card balance going to come out, and I don't want to pay any interest there. And it always blows me away that you'll get people that will gripe over the interest they'll pay on the credit card and never bat an eye over the interest that they pay on their primary mortgage because nobody ever really brought it to their attention. and it's just the way people do mortgages. So what we know about this open-end credit line is we can float money from the lender. We have a lot more flexibility with it, a lot more availability. This is a much better product for us to work with, and again, can be used in defeating that closed-end mortgage. So I go here that banks understand the idea of stagnant money. This is pretty much a read-through slide. It makes a lot of sense. What you're trying to do is break down the basics of investment. There's a lot more to investing than what I'm showing on this slide. But this is a dovetail into the product, so to speak, that the banks understand there's stagnant money, so does our program. Smart investors do what banks do, so does our program. It moves the right amount of money at the right time from one account to another account and let it sit for the right length of time. And that's what our program does as well. Now, it doesn't do it in investment strategy. It does it for debt elimination, telling you exact dollar amounts, when to move the money, how much to pay, exact date, in order to get, we'll say, the best bang for your buck. And then I go into the sweep account, and this is just more another one of these to kind of wake the client up. When we went through interest amortization, when we went through interest accumulation, that was all in an effort to have the client kind of feel the pain of their own situation. Well, very few people that do banking realize that the bank uses their money to invest, that they actually sign that money over. And they invest our money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year, earning money for them using strategies. Isn't it time that you learned how to bank like a bank? Isn't it about time? Okay, so now we go into concept. Offset accounts, home equity lines of credit, personal lines of credit, commercial lines of credit, secured lines of credit, unsecured lines of credit, credit cards, PayPal, checking and savings account, and some insurance products will function as an offset account. So what is an offset account? An offset account is an account that you utilize to offset interest charges on another account. That is why it's called an offset account. All right, so the next slide takes us into basic concept and theory. I'm going to pause here for just a moment, if everybody will just hang tight with me. All right, everyone, sorry for that delay. And so this is actually a really good segue place for us to stop the presentation this evening. We're going to pick this second half up, and just to give you an idea, it's going to take us into the basic concept of an offset account, and it's going to take us through the rest of the presentation. So I'm going to go to questions here real quick and just see. Now, I did have one here, getting confusing for most consumers. Now, I will tell you this presentation here is the presentation that I give in a live room, that I give from the front of a room. And it's meant to give the broad overall concept, keep their attention, keep them moving forward, keep them engaged, and give them enough information to move forward on. Now, when you're with a client, I have to be very careful about what I'm going to say here. Less is more. Less is more when you're dealing with a client. I think kind of the statement I want you all to move into next Tuesday's training with is the buyer does not need to know everything the seller knows. Let's say that again. The buyer does not need to know everything the seller knows. The buyer needs enough information to make an educated buying decision. That's what they need. Mac, do you have an amortization sheet for someone who has a 2%? Amortization sheets, if you all go to, if you all go to bankrates.com, bankrates.com, you can find a mortgage calculator there. And in that mortgage calculator, I have somebody asking amortization sheet for someone who has 2% interest. Jimmy, you can go into bankrates.com, put in a dollar amount of the home, put in the 2% interest rate over 30-year, and it will blow you out a full amortization schedule on bankrates.com. The answer to the question is no, I do not have a sheet that's already made at 2% interest. So next Tuesday, please jump on the call because we're going to finish this out. I know that's a lot of information that I gave you all today, but what I'm really trying to do is educate you on how this whole process and this product comes together. Because in conversations I've had with some people, there have been some misconceptions about what does the talk track look like? What do you say here? What do you say there? I just got, is this webinar recorded for review? Yes, it is being recorded. I'll have to render the video tomorrow morning, and so it should be posted either Wednesday or Thursday at the latest, and it'll be posted as part 1 of the Money Max account program in detail. And then next Tuesday, we'll do the second half, and we'll finish this out. So you have a 2-part that goes pretty deep. With offset accounts, as we go through the presentation, you all will know, offset account is a way to do this, using the HELOC, using lines of credit, but do know that it works just as well with a checking and savings account as well. So if a client doesn't have an offset account, then they don't have an offset account. You can still take them through the same process, how the program moves money and tells you to move money and transfer and pay down and do all of that. And there's a slide that you'll see near the end here that talks about the checking and savings account method. So right now, the main concept we always want to get across is that HELOC, is that line of credit basic concept, because let me tell you, if you've got a client with a line of credit, they can pay for the product right out of the line of credit. You don't run the risk of any chargebacks. And you have a client that has some savvy about how these programs and systems operate. So get on the call next Tuesday. We'll finish out the second half of this. I'm almost exactly at half right now, and we'll finish this out next Tuesday. And I want to thank everybody for jumping on and joining us, and just love doing these trainings for you all, and love having you all on the call. So let's get out there and do it big. Let's get out there and do it right. But at the very least, let's get out there and do something right now. This is Max Saunders saying bye-bye for now.